So I just finished playing the Hardcore Tarkov wipe on the very first day, and there's a lot to unpack with it. There's a lot that I like, and there's plenty that I don't like, and I'm currently sitting with mixed opinions on how it actually has been unrolled, and I feel like there's plenty of people that are kind of right there with me. So today I'm going to be talking about the things that I would personally like to see changed for Hardcore Tarkov's wipe to make it a lot more enjoyable for all the players, especially the casual players that don't have as much time to play. And I'm not talking about gear collection there, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. First, let's open up with the big one. There isn't any quests to complete outside of daily and weekly missions. Nikita dropped that bomb on us this morning, and I'm going to be completely honest, the game feels very empty without having those goal-oriented tasks to help upgrade the traders, to unlock cool new barters, to progress the main story. Building up your hideout is the only objective that you have right now, and of course the devs have always mentioned that the quests will be returning at some point. They even mentioned 2 new prestiges, so they have to be re-added. But to not have them on day one, I think was a bit of a miss, and I really hope to see them return very soon. Especially because some traders like Jaeger, you just can't really progress at all. You don't even have access to their gear on day one, which is a bit disappointing because that's one of my favorite traders for the early game levels. Now let's talk about the transits. For people who are not playing the wipe, this is how it works. You have to start on Ground Zero, Factory, or Customs in order to play the other maps. You're not able to queue into Woods, Shoreline, Reserve, Lighthouse. You have to physically go from one map to the other, which is actually really cool in theory, but in practice definitely needs some improvement. The first problem with this system is you are going to be spawning very close to the other players that use the transit zone on the other map, the same one as you, for example, Customs to Interchange, and they will be spawning extremely close to you. And this is an absolute bloodbath, especially on Interchange. It's very similar to the Customs boiler spawn situation a few years ago, when you used to be able to choose what map, what position on the map you want to spawn in, like east or west or whatever. And what ended up happening is all the players chose the more loot-focused part of the map to get the factory key and stuff, and it was just a complete disaster. We're kind of getting that again with the transit zones because the vast majority of the people have to play factory or customs, so naturally they're going to be going into those maps from those locations and therefore spawning directly next to their enemy players, and it's just not really a good system. The second issue I have with this is for the casual audience. Now, Hardcore Tarkov, the version that I play, doesn't necessarily make the game extremely punishing. It just makes it more rewarding for players that want to go out there and barter, craft their own supplies, not use the flea market. This is kind of hurting players and not really rewarding their time. So in order for you to go and play on Lighthouse, for example, or I guess let's use Shoreline, you have to start on Customs, then go to Reserve, then go to Shoreline, and hypothetically, life gets in the way, you have to immediately extract, you're not able to complete your objective, you're not actually allowed to respawn on Shoreline the next time you log into the game. You have to start back on Ground Zero, Factory, or Customs. They could solve this problem by just allowing players who survive their raids to re-queue the map that they just played, or play any of the adjacent maps that are connected to that one, either with transits or otherwise. This wouldn't solve, but it would alleviate the issues that we're getting on maps like Interchange, where everybody spawns together. If somebody who plays Customs successfully wants to go and play Interchange, they can queue it like the old system and maybe spawn on the other side of the map near Power Station instead of everybody being jammed up together near Ollie. Another idea they could try is making the physical maps that you buy from the traders or find in your raids a one-time consumable similar to Labs keycards that allows players to queue into that map directly without using the transit system. Now let's talk about the bosses. The bosses don't really feel that great to me being 100% across all the maps in the game. It's causing a lot of like YOLO farming situations that just really takes the vibe away from the Escape for Tarkov wipe, in my opinion. It's one of the reasons why I don't really enjoy playing Tarkov at the end of a wipe with all those wacky events. I kind of like the unpredictability, not knowing if a boss is there or not. Don't get it twisted, 15% is way too low, but I think bosses being at like 30 to 40% spawn rates would be fantastic for this, or having a 100% chance for bosses to spawn depending on the time of day. 100% for every single boss is just leading to some issues, in my opinion, especially on Customs, and it's fun for a little bit, but it's going to get old very fast. The Hideout received a lot of changes. It's more difficult to upgrade now, so A lot of cases, it just requires like double the amount of resources that it did before. Not in every situation, but in a lot of situations. So instead of finding one measuring tape, you need two. Instead of finding like one bottle of olololol pills for the med station, you need two. You need 4 bandages. You need 4 like trinkets and 4 matches. You know what I'm saying? Like, so a lot of it is just double the price, double the amount of items. I don't think this was necessary because I feel like building the hideout was just time consuming as is. So yeah, not necessarily a big fan of this. I would also like to see less crafting times across the board to encourage players to craft their gear and ammunition, just giving people another way of getting gear and giving them more dopamine hits and things to work towards. Hurting crafting times and making the hideout more difficult, in my opinion, doesn't really match up to the hardcore Tarkov vibes. Last but certainly not least are the container restrictions. You're no longer able to put a lot of medications in your secure container, ammunition, even money, and money spawns in a much larger quantity in raid. So something to consider if a dev ever watches this, which I highly doubt, but it would be nice to get the find and raid money limitation increased to like 1 million or something like that. Because if you have all the keys on interchange, you're going to be making like close to 1 mil if you actually survive. And it's not free cash because you're at risk of getting killed by any other player that's in the area to steal your hard-earned money. So it's kind of an interesting twist. I kind of like it. But it is definitely going to be a lot more difficult because players are going to be spending far more on medication. That being said, a lot of the stuff in the traders are also more expensive. So you're going to be making more money by finding physical cash in your raids and extracting with it, but everything costs more. Those are my biggest notes that I had on my thoughts on the hardcore Escape for Tarkov wipe so far. My first day actually started off pretty shaky. I opened up with a couple of big deaths, but as time went on, I found my groove again, getting some pretty decent PvP kills, and then also got some pretty big boss kills. I was able to take out Killa, which was really great. Got a couple nice flashes on him. Had some good fights against Tagilla. Had some great early raid battles on Factory with shotguns and stuff. So it was certainly a lot of fun. The Factory PvP right now is actually a blast, but again, because it's one of our only maps that we can play without transit, it's going to get tiresome for a lot of players. Like, I could probably stay on Factory for a whole stream just farming Tagilla and getting some pretty crazy experience rates. But yeah, it wasn't a bad day. I think I ended with like a 65% survival rating. My stash is quite full, but my cash stack is not that big at all. And that's because a lot of the raids that I actually physically looted, hundreds of thousands of rubles, I ended up dying on, and that was just not great. I have a couple more things I want to say. I feel like I have mixed opinions on the hardcore Tarkov wipe because I recognize how really cool this could have been for a lot of players, especially for people that were huge naysayers thinking that the game would not function very well without the flea market. And January was a first test to see whether or not people would actually like Tarkov without the flea market for a couple weeks. And I think the overwhelming majority actually liked it to the point where they wanted the devs to extend it even more for another week or two, and they actually did. So I feel like a lot of people were really excited to hear that hardcore Tarkov was going to be a wipe for everybody, and we're all going to be experiencing a no flea market wipe. I'm going to be completely honest, man. This is something that I've been personally wanting to see in the game since the flea market was added and since I did hardcore Tarkov all those years ago. And here we are 7 years later after hardcore Tarkov, and we finally get a chance for the great experiment to see what this would be really like with everybody following the same rule set. And I feel like there's just an overwhelming amount of challenge and difficulty that was completely unnecessary that is going to spoil this opportunity for a lot of people. I personally felt like they should have kept it really simple. 30% spawn chances for bosses, no flea market, more barters on the traders, reduced crafting time, and some container restrictions, mainly for keys. Actually, the way they have the container working right now would have been fine. That's all they really needed to do. The day one grind would have been really fun. People trying to do their quests, unlocking different barters, crafting more things in their hideout. None of this like transit stuff. I feel like it's just, I can't help but sit here and be like, this is potentially a missed opportunity that's going to derail the entire chance of doing a no flea wipe. And then in a few weeks time, the devs are just going to be like, well, everybody fucking hates it, and then go back to a flea market Escape for Tarkov wipe. That's the way I currently feel. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope we get some really fast changes and adjustments to this, to the point where more casual players can explore this game. Hardcore Tarkov was never meant to hurt casual Tarkov players. It was meant to make the experience of playing this game more enjoyable and more meaningful. So it was never really about difficulty. It was more like an Iron Man Tarkov, if anything else. And that's really not how the game is currently playing. It is not set up for regular players to really enjoy, and that's making me incredibly disappointed. That's all I got to say about that for now. So I'm always eager to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you guys think about the Escape for Tarkov hardcore wipe? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What kind of changes would you like to see added to the game? I'll always be interested to hear everything you guys got to say. And also check out my live stream here on YouTube and on Twitch Monday through Friday, starting at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just in case you're out of the loop, there's going to be a couple of weeks where I'm going to be gone in the summertime. I'm going to be having another kid here very soon. I'm really excited about that. So whenever that happens, don't expect any uploads, don't expect any live streams, but I do expect to be back sometime in August to check out all the changes, hopefully all the changes made to Hardcore Tarkov, to see what the devs have cooking up. I am excited. I am cautiously optimistic. I'm a little disappointed with some things, but I really want to see this experiment go the full way. And I did have a lot of fun today, but I think there's more to be had. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks again for watching.